On a dark, rainy night, Officer David Martinez, known for his bravery and dedication, was patrolling the streets. It was a rough neighborhood, but David had seen it all during his years on the force. As he turned a corner, something unusual caught his attention. Through the heavy rain, he heard a faint, almost desperate cry. For a moment, he hesitated, but his instincts took over. The sound was coming from a trash bin just down the street. The closer he got, the louder the cry became, and what he found inside left him frozen in shock. A newborn baby, wrapped in a dirty blanket, abandoned among the garbage. Without a second thought, David scooped the baby into his arms, shielding the fragile child from the downpour. As he called for an ambulance, his heart raced. Who could leave such a helpless baby to die in these terrible conditions? As the baby settled in his arms, David couldn't help but feel a strange sense of calm wash over him. It was as if the baby knew he was safe now. That night, David's life changed forever. The baby was rushed to the hospital and, against all odds, survived. Soon after, he was adopted by a loving family. But David couldn't shake the memory of that night. Year after year, he returned to the spot where he found the baby, reliving the moment that had etched itself into his soul. Years passed, and the baby, now a young boy, grew up with no knowledge of his traumatic beginnings. Meanwhile, David continued his work on the police force, though his thoughts often wandered back to that night. As his retirement approached, David felt a mix of pride and regret. He had saved many lives in his career, but none as precious as the child he found in the trash. Then, just days before his retirement, David received an anonymous letter. The letter revealed a shocking secret about the child he had rescued all those years ago, a truth that would change everything he thought he knew. David sat in his living room, staring at the letter in disbelief. The words on the page seemed to blur as he tried to comprehend the shocking revelation. The child you saved was never meant to be found. There's more to this story than you think. Meet me at the place where it all began. The message was cryptic, but David knew exactly where to go. His mind raced with questions. What could this person know about the baby he had rescued? And why now, after so many years? David felt a sense of unease creep over him, but he couldn't ignore it. He needed answers. The next day, just before sunset, David made his way to the old neighborhood, to the very same trash bin where he had found the baby. The rain was falling lightly, almost as if nature was recreating the atmosphere of that fateful night. As he approached the spot, a figure stepped out from the shadows, a woman, wearing a long coat and a hood covering her face. She held a small envelope in her hand. "You're here," she said quietly. "I wasn't sure you'd come." David's heart pounded. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice steady but filled with tension. The woman slowly pulled back her hood, revealing her face. She looked familiar, but David couldn't quite place her. "You don't remember me, do you?" she asked, a hint of sadness in her voice. "I was there that night, the night you found the baby." David's eyes widened. He searched his memory, trying to recall her, and then it hit him. She was there in the distance watching. He had seen her for just a brief moment, but in the chaos of the rescue, he had forgotten about her. "I should have come forward sooner," she continued, "but there were things I couldn't reveal, things I couldn't explain. The baby, he wasn't just abandoned. He was taken." David felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean, taken? Who would do such a thing?" She hesitated, then handed him the envelope. "Inside, you'll find answers. But know this. There are people out there who will do anything to keep the truth hidden. The child you save has a past far more dangerous than you realize." David ripped open the envelope. Inside were photos, documents, and a birth certificate. As he scanned the papers, his heart sank. The baby wasn't just any child. He belonged to a wealthy and powerful family. A family that had mysteriously disappeared just days before the baby was found. The details were vague, but one thing was clear. Someone had wanted the baby gone, and David's actions had unknowingly interfered with a much larger plan. As he looked up at the woman, a new wave of questions flooded his mind. But before he could speak, She stepped back into the shadows. "Be careful, Officer Martinez," she warned. "You're in deeper than you know." With that, she vanished into the night, leaving David standing alone in the rain, holding the envelope that would change everything. David stood frozen in place, the rain soaking through his clothes as he held the envelope tightly. His mind raced, piecing together the shocking revelations. How could the baby he saved be connected to such a powerful family? And why would someone go to such lengths to hide the child? He knew he couldn't let this go, not now. The following day, David took the documents to a trusted friend, Detective Isabel Lopez, a seasoned investigator who had seen her share of strange cases. When he showed her the envelope, she looked up at him with raised eyebrows. "This is heavy, David. You're telling me the baby you found years ago is tied to a missing family? If this is true, we're dealing with something huge." Isabel started going through the documents, her fingers moving quickly across the photos and papers. "This birth certificate," she pointed, "matches a child from a very influential family, the Kingsleys. They vanished without a trace over a decade ago. The police closed the case, calling it an unsolved mystery, but there were always rumors, whispers about foul play, power struggles, and cover-ups." David felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "So, the baby, the child I saved, could be one of them?" Isabel nodded gravely. "If these documents are real, then yes. But the real question is, why was he abandoned? And who would benefit from making the world think the Kingsley baby was dead?" David's head spun with more questions than answers. "We need to find the boy," he said, urgency rising in his voice. "He's probably still in danger." Isabel agreed, but her expression darkened. "We have to be careful, David. Whoever's behind this went to great lengths to make sure no one would connect the dots. And if they find out we're digging into this, we might be next on their list." They began their search quietly, working off the grid to avoid drawing attention. Isabel's skills as an investigator proved invaluable as she dug through old files, made discreet calls, and pulled strings. Slowly, they started piecing together the mystery. Meanwhile, David couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Everywhere he went, he noticed subtle signs. Cars parked too long outside his house, strangers who seemed to follow him in public. Someone was on to them. Then, after days of searching, they found a lead. The boy, now a teenager, was living in a foster home under a different name, completely unaware of his true identity. His adoptive parents had kept him safe and hidden, but it seemed the danger was creeping back into his life. David and Isabel knew they had to move quickly. They needed to reach the boy before those who had tried to erase his existence found him first. But time was running out. The night they planned to visit the foster home, everything took a dark turn. As David and Isabel approached the house, they saw the door slightly ajar. Inside, the place was eerily quiet, too quiet. They exchanged a glance, knowing something was wrong. Drawing their weapons, they cautiously stepped inside. Suddenly, there was movement. A shadow darted across the hallway, and David's heart sank. They weren't alone. David's pulse quickened as he and Isabel moved deeper into the house. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the creaking floorboards beneath their feet. They reached the living room, where they found signs of a struggle. Overturned furniture, broken picture frames, and scattered belongings. Whoever had been here had left in a hurry. Suddenly, a faint noise came from the back of the house, a soft, muffled cry. David exchanged a tense glance with Isabel and moved toward the sound. The cry grew louder as they approached a closed door. Without hesitation, David kicked it open, revealing a darkened room. In the corner, huddled in fear, was the boy they had been searching for, now a teenager with wide, terrified eyes. He was bound and gagged, but alive. David felt a surge of relief wash over him, but they weren't out of danger yet. Whoever had done this could still be nearby. Isabel quickly untied the boy while David kept watch. "We're here to help you," she whispered softly, trying to calm him down. "You're safe now." But just as they were about to leave, They heard footsteps behind them. David spun around, gun raised, as a figure emerged from the shadows. It was the woman from before, the one who had given him the letter. Her face was pale, her expression unreadable. "You need to go now," she said in a hushed tone. "They're coming. You don't have much time." David hesitated, unsure whether to trust her. "Who are you really? And why are you helping us?" The woman looked past him at the boy, her eyes softening. "I made a terrible mistake years ago. I was part of the group that took him, but I couldn't live with the guilt. I've been trying to make things right ever since. But there are others, people more powerful than you can imagine, who won't stop until he's gone for good. You have to disappear. Take him and leave before they find you." David glanced at Isabel, who gave him a slight nod. There was no time to argue. They had to trust her for now. Together, they grabbed the boy and rushed out of the house, escaping into the night. As they drove away, the boy sat in the back seat, still shaken but safe. David looked at him through the rearview mirror, feeling a deep sense of responsibility. The boy didn't yet know the full story, but soon he would. For now, the most important thing was keeping him alive. "I promise you," David said quietly, "we're going to protect you. You're not alone anymore." But even as he said the words, David knew the danger wasn't over. They would have to stay hidden, keep moving, and figure out how to stop the people who wanted the boy silenced. It was a race against time, but David was determined. He had saved his boy once before, and he wasn't going to let anyone take him away again. As the days passed, David and Isabel worked tirelessly to keep the boy safe, moving from one safe house to another, always staying one step ahead of the dangerous forces that pursued them. But they couldn't run forever. They needed a plan to put an end to the chase once and for all. After weeks of hiding, they finally found a way to expose the truth. With Isabel's help, David uncovered crucial evidence linking the boy's disappearance to powerful individuals who had orchestrated the whole conspiracy. They handed the information to the authorities, who launched an investigation that shook the city's elite to its core. The people behind the cover-up were arrested, and the boy, whose real name was Ethan Kingsley, was finally free. No longer in danger, he was able to return to a normal life. His true identity as the heir to a great fortune was revealed, but more importantly, he was given the chance to grow up in peace, surrounded by people who cared about him. David, standing at Ethan's side, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had not only saved his boy once, but twice. The bond between them had grown strong, and though they weren't related by blood, David knew he had become a father figure to Ethan. As they watched the sunset together, Ethan looked up at David and said, "Thank you. You saved my life more than once. I'll never forget what you did for me." David smiled, feeling the weight of years of worry lift from his shoulders. "You're safe now, Ethan. That's all that matters." Ethan was adopted by a loving family, and David stayed in his life, guiding him and watching him grow into a young man with a bright future. The storm had passed, and now both of them could finally live in peace. Now, what do you think would have happened if David hadn't found Ethan in time? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story and want to see more incredible rescues and life-changing moments, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story. We have so much more to share with you.